Hey everybody, this is Dr. Dave Hudson, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about how to build a grants pipeline program and think about your projects as large-scale projects that then have some different grants that could potentially support those. So the way that we conceptualize projects is strictly around, okay, what idea do we have as a group? We've typically come together as collaborators, usually across 2+ organizations, and we have an idea. That idea may have an experimental aspect, it may have a stewardship aspect, it may have a conservation aspect, and all of these different pieces are not necessarily going to be funded by one funder. So when we're trying to construct projects, it's really important to think about what the project looks like overall. What are our organizational or our collaborations, organizational objectives, hypotheses, and outcomes that we want from a given project. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do this within the context of our collaboration with the AZA Sea Turtle Safe program. And what I've constructed is, based on some of the experience that I've had in the past, a document that has the opportunities that are out there, what program we think that it could fit for, and then allows us to think about, okay, well, where would this fit within our overall scope? So certainly when we look at some of these opportunities, whether these are NSF-based opportunities or others, some are certainly local. So MIT Sea Grant would only really cover a geographic focus in Massachusetts, for instance. Same thing with Woods Hole, and they also often have very specific focal areas. So as we're trying to evaluate different opportunities, we think about how they fit in and generally what the dates are for pre-proposals, letters of intent, and how these affect in this case our strategic plan objectives. So there are some that are recurring. A lot of these RFPs, these requests for proposals, are recurring. So it's really important to keep in mind that there's kind of a rhythm every year to these different opportunities. So in the context of sea turtles, we're particularly interested right now in funding the work that we're trying to do on nesting beaches for Eastern Pacific leatherbacks and Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. So we want to make sure that we're expanding our impact there. We also want to make sure that we're doing additional outreach. Well, some of these opportunities will only fund work that happens in the United States. Others will fund work in Latin America. And still others will fund work that's only in the Asia Pacific region, for instance. So part of what we do is we evaluate these different opportunities, and we do have different tabs here that we think about different prospects for these different things. So this is a little bit messier. We do think about what active awards we have as we are currently funded, and then the different proposal stages, whether things are currently a pass, like the Saltonstall Kennedy Award, for instance, through NOAA, doesn't really affect this particular type of conservation or research work. So we think about how these fit in, and it allows us to put, in some cases, 50 to 100 RFPs into context with our programs. So my nonprofit, Remote Ecologist, certainly works with sea turtles, but we also work with coral conservation and restoration work in the Caribbean, in Colombia specifically right now. We also work with freshwater crustacean work both in the United States and in South America. We're doing hopefully shark tagging eventually back in the United States in the Gulf of Mexico and up in the eastern seaboard. So these are different project areas for us that have different potential funding mechanisms. Certainly we're raising funding through our partnerships with companies like Upwell Coffee, but we're also working through to regularly apply for grants as they come up. So it's important to have a team that is collaborative. We work with lots of different organizations, so when we submit a proposal, we think about which group would be the best proposer in that case. So it may be that Remote Ecologist isn't the primary applicant for some of these requests for proposals, whereas on others we will be. So it's important to discuss that with your collaborators as you're putting together the project and as you're thinking about how these different requests for proposals will be implemented. Once the awards have come out, it's important to make sure that tracking will be in place, that organizational pieces will be able to be put together, and that we'll be able to move together when it comes to the tactical pieces of moving money from one organization to another and reporting hourly wages and costs back up to the funder. So that's all for now. Thank you very much, and feel free to email me if you have any questions.